8th verse, and we'll be going all the way through to verse 13. So I'll share my screen, and I'll chant the Sanskrit and the translations up to 13, and then on 13, then we can chant together. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tojayam Udhirayat. Text 8. Shri Shuka Uvacha Itam Maghavatagyata Megha Nirmukta Bandhanaha Nanda Gokula Masarai Pidayam Asur Ojasa. Sukadev Goswami said, on Indra's order, the clouds of universal destruction, released untimely from their bonds, went to the cowherd pastures of Nanda Maharaj. There they began to torment the inhabitants by powerfully pouring down torrents of rain upon them. Purport: the Samvartaka clouds could cover the entire earth with a single vast ocean. With great strength, these clouds began flooding the simple land of Braj. Text 9. Vidyottamana vidyubdhi stanantaha stanyan stanayin nubhi tivrer marudganer nana pravrisorjalashak kara. Propelled by the fearsome wind gods, the clouds blazed with lightning bolts and roared with thunder as they hurled down hailstones. Purport: Srila Sridhar Swami explains that the word Marudganai indicates the 7 great winds, such as Avaha, who presides over the region of Bhuvar Loka, and Pravaha, who holds the planets in their places. Amazing that, 5,000 years ago, these things are being talked about. I mean, even before then, the Vedas talk about gravity, basically. To know that there's, so many planets that are floating in the sky. And it's mentioned Pravaha is the kind of wind that holds the planets in their places, just so ahead of everybody else. Stuna stula varshadhara munchatsva breshva bhikshanaha jalagai lavyamana bur nadrishyata natonatam. As the clouds released torrents of rain as thick as massive columns, the earth was submerged in the flood, and high ground could no longer be distinguished from low. Atyasarativatena pashavo jata vipanaha gopa gopyascha shitarta govindam sharanam yayuhu. The cows and other animals, shivering from the excessive rain and wind, and the cowherd men and ladies, pained by the cold, all approached Lord Govinda for shelter. Shiraha sutam chakayena pachadya sadapidita vipamana bhagavata padamulam upayayuhu. Trembling from the distress brought about by the severe rainfall, and trying to cover their heads and calves with their own bodies, the cows approached the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The cows. Okay, here we go. We'll do line for line. So I'll chant first line, and then you guys can respond, and then we'll go like that, but one by one. Krishna Krishna Mahabhaga.
Krishna Krishna Mahabhaga.
Tvanatam Gokulam Prabho.
Tvanatham Gokulam Prabho.
Tratam Arhasi Devanna.
Tratam Arhasi Devanna.
Upitad Bhakta Vatsala.
Kupitat Bhakta Vatsala.
Krishna Krishna, O Krishna Krishna. Mahabhaga, O all-fortunate one. Twatnatam, whose master is yourself. Gokulam, the community of cows. Wow, I never heard Gokula translated. Actually, I don't think I ever heard it translated before. I mean, I understood it was the cow place, but the community of cows, Gokulam. Prabho, O Lord, Tratam Arhasi, kindly protect, Devat, from the demigod Indra, Na, us, Kupitat, who is angry, Bhakta Vatsal, O you who are very affectionate to your devotees. Translation. The cowherd men and women addressed the Lord, Krishna, Krishna, O most fortunate one, please deliver the cows from the wrath of Indra. O Lord, you are so affectionate to your devotees. Please save us also. Purport. At the time of Lord Krishna's birth, Garga Muni had predicted, Anena sarva durgani yuya magyas tardishyata. By his grace, you will easily cross beyond all difficulties. The residents of Vrindavan were confident that in such a great emergency, Lord Sri Narayan would empower Krishna to protect them. They accepted Krishna as everything, and Krishna reciprocated their love. Om Adgyanatirmanandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanjakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, perennial favorite this pastime. I think it's up there, my favorite pastimes, just because of how amazing Govardhan Hill is. If anyone's ever been there, it's far enough away from Vrindavan, which has now become kind of like a city, that it's for the most part quite quiet and quite serene, and the atmosphere just feels really special. I stayed there for over my time about 6 months total, and each time I've gone, I've always felt that I've made a lot of progress towards the ultimate goal. I'm still very far away, but Govardhan is just such a special place. So this is where it all started. This is what makes Govardhan such a special place. This is why nowadays there's hundreds of thousands of people who will circumambulate miles and miles around the hill every single day. The 6 Goswamis would do it. And it's said that by doing so, then one achieves their spiritual desires. Krishna fulfills their desires that they have in their heart, the spiritual ones at least. So Krishna is very kind, but more kind than Krishna, we understand, is Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Srila Prabhupada once gave an Atlanta arrival address in which he was speaking about this point that Krishna demands that we surrender and then he delivers us. But Lord Chaitanya is so kind, he does not demand surrender. He's so kind, Prabhupada said. So we understand that simply by engaging in Lord Chaitanya's mission, that is, namely, giving other people Krishna consciousness, there's actually a two-part mission that's been handed down to us, two-part two-component setup with Krishna consciousness, where we have to be tasting Hare Krishna, and we have to be giving Hare Krishna to others. So the two go hand in hand, because if we don't have anything to give, then how could we give anybody anything? And so duty one of the devotee is to develop a taste for Krishna consciousness, for the holy names of Krishna, for his pastimes, and then to distribute the overflow of that taste to others. It's a very simple process. Prabhupada said it's simple for the simple, that if we can master the basics, then we'll get a taste for Krishna consciousness. And then through that taste, so much will come. It's understood. We hear in the second chapter of the Bhagavatam, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janiyat Yashu Vairagyam Ganam Chayarohitukam. That by rendering devotional service, which is extremely blissful, the taste that you get from actually rendering devotional service is so beyond anything else in the material world. It's like oil and water, gold and stool. There's just absolutely no comparison. So much so that simply by rendering a little devotional service, a little bit of hearing Krishna's name in the right consciousness, a little bit of chanting Krishna's name in the right consciousness, the taste we get from that is so extraordinary that immediately one becomes detached from the material world. So this should be our main business, is getting a taste for the holy name and for hearing about Krishna. Because from that, then we'll actually be able to give up all these other lower things. I definitely find the tendency in myself to, when I notice a certain anartha coming up, to start thinking like, oh no, I can't think of that, or I can't do that, or, you get so absorbed in the idea of like not doing the thing. But much more effective than that, and what's actually recommended very clearly in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam from all our acharyas, is focusing on doing the right thing. That if instead of becoming absorbed in what we shouldn't be doing, we become absorbed in what we should be doing, namely hearing about Krishna, thinking about Krishna, hearing Krishna's names, the two syllables, Krishna. It's understood that that if we actually hear the holy name, if we actually hear the two syllables Krishna, then the experience will be so extraordinary, so pleasurable, that when the name enters our ears, we'll yearn to have millions and millions of ears. And when we taste the sweetness of Krishna's presence on our tongue, then we'll desire millions and millions of tongues. So if we could actually hear the name Krishna, then what is the difficulty in giving up all the stool-like sensory pleasures and so forth, and subtle sensory pleasures that are here in the material world? There's no comparison. It's very easy to give them up. Rishabdev explains this very clearly in his teachings to his sons, in which he says, Nayam deho deha vajamnu loke kastankamanahita vidbhujamye tapo divyam puchakayena satvam shud yedyasmad brahmasalkyam tonantam. By engaging in tapo divyam, then one is easily able to give up all this wet stool, dry stool, sensory pleasures of the material world. Because, sorry to be talking so much about stool so early in the morning, but the analogy is basically that, you look at a dog and, sorry to all the dog lovers out there, but it is an objective fact that dogs, and well, maybe not all dogs, but dogs do from time to time indulge in eating such things. And for them, it's a great pleasure to be eating such an abominable thing. They actually enjoy it. That's why they do it. And so in the same way, we are enjoying different things when they come in contact with our senses because of our subtle body, because in accordance with our mind, our intelligence, our false ego, we're saying, well, I enjoy this. But in terms of the act itself, enjoying sensual pleasure, there's no difference between a dog eating stool and ourselves enjoying sex life or any kind of meat or any kind of food that's unoffered to the deity. It's the same activity and it's the same way of getting pleasure. It's saying miles and an infinite distance above that is enjoying the pleasure that one gets from tapo divyam, this divine austerity, this divine yajna of chanting the holy names and engaging in Krishna consciousness. I mean, oftentimes what we see is Krishna will give people a free sample of what this feels like, especially towards the beginning of our Krishna consciousness. And Krishna may pull back the curtain some and give us just a brief experience. I mean, that's all we need is one moment of actually experiencing real pleasure in connection with his service. And from that we could see, oh yeah, no, this is not only are we convinced that this is a real thing, but we understand what all the hype is about. And oh, I can see why this is considered to be higher than everything else. It's of a completely different nature. It's real pleasure. It's what we're actually searching for, right? And so in the Bhagavad Gita, the analogy is given of the tree that's reflected in water, and there may be so many fruits on the tree that may seem very appealing, but then when we go to take them, then all we get in the water is some sensation, right? We get some sensory sensation. We don't actually get the real fruit that we understand is there. In order to actually achieve that, in order to taste the real juice, of the real fruit, we have to turn away from the water and towards the tree and engage with that real tree. So Krishna is that real tree. Maya, this material world, is that water. And as long as we're trying to taste the fruits of enjoyment through the water, all we get is some sensory stimulation that may make us excited, but ultimately doesn't satisfy us. To actually get that real satisfaction that we know inherently exists, right? We can see it with our own even material senses. In order to actually realize it, in order to actually truly enjoy it and to receive satisfaction from it, we have to turn away from this water that's always changing and that's just an illusion and turn towards the real thing. You have to turn towards Krishna. So here we see that that's what they do in Vrindavan, in Gokulam, the community of cows. They're no longer interested in anything that has to do with the material world. They're fully absorbed in Krishna. There's an amazing part in it's video 1 of Following Prabhupada by Yadubar Prabhu and Mother Vishaka, which are all on YouTube. For anybody who doesn't know, if you type in Following Prabhupada, I think there's 10 or 11 DVD, like 2-hour long movies basically that follow Prabhupada from the time he came to the US all the way to the time he left the world. And in the first one, there's this memory that always gets me, where Prabhupada's in 26 Second Avenue, and you could just see in his whole body, his whole presence, his eyes, that he's just so focused on his mission and so in love with Krishna and just so determined to glorify him. And there's so many good nuggets in there, but you see him doing his arti, and they would call it bells, all the new people who were coming to the 20th. He's, Guru, what is it? Swamiji is doing bells. And there's this close up of him ringing his arti bell and offering something to a picture of Krishna and Srimati Radharani. And you can see the tears welling up in his eyes as he's offering. And it's just like to see that on video. I mean, this is stuff you read about in the CC, these kinds of emotions and transformations, but you're seeing it on video. Highly recommend it. Very inspiring to see. But then in that same DVD, it mentions that there was a time when Prabhupada was giving class and he's talking to these brand new people, many of whom are probably intoxicated, or tripping on acid and are otherwise impaired. But he's telling them about the cowherd boys and their love for Krishna. and he's saying that the cowherd boys are simply thinking, simply thinking, Krishna, 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 and he's saying it. And then Brahmananda says that it seemed like it was another devotee, it wasn't Brahmananda, was saying that it seemed like Prabhupada went into like some kind of trance where he closed his eyes and he was just saying, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And then Brahmananda was sitting next to him and looking up at him. And as Prabhupada is going like this, and he saw Brahmananda kind of like starting to feel something. And then as Prabhupada's going, Krishna, Krishna, then Brahmananda goes, ah! and and he yeah, I mean, who knows what he was feeling inside, but Prabhupada was definitely feeling something inside that, we're talking about here. These devotees who are on this level are fully absorbed in Krishna. They're fully sold out to Krishna. And that's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Sometimes we might start thinking that Bhagavad Gita is maybe a little redundant, right? That it can be repetitive, and that's true in one sense, because Arjuna is not really fully understanding what Krishna is saying. And so Krishna has to keep repeating himself and saying things in different ways to get his point across. But actually, in every single verse and every single purport, we're getting this. We're actually getting the essence of the Bhagavatam. That's Prabhupada's MO, right? That's his title, Bhakti Vedanta, that in these Vedantic literatures, he's always going for the essence of bhakti. And so I was just reading the other day and I made this note in the 18th chapter, 23rd verse, it's talking about the different kinds of action in the mode of goodness, action in the mode of passion, action in the mode of ignorance. And one of the points that's mentioned is that the only way to be fully detached from our actions, from the outcomes of our actions here in the material world, is to be fully sold out to Krishna. That if we have any tinge of desire to get something for ourselves, then ultimately our action will be tainted. And so the only way to fully transcend the karmic laws of the universe is to become fully sold out to Krishna. And that means we have to develop love for him, right? And so that's really the essence of the Krishna consciousness movement, actually, is this idea of creating an environment in which people can become pure devotees. And then we understand the more pure devotees that there are in the world, then the more pure devotees we'll be able to make. Because it's understood that a pure devotee can only be made by another pure devotee. I was just reading in the CC yesterday, and I sent this one quote to my friend Bhakta Evan, who many of you know. He used to live at the Bhakti Center. It says, this is Madhya Lila 2498. Only a pure devotee can convert others to pure devotional service. It is therefore important for all the preachers in our Krishna consciousness movement to first become pure devotees and follow the regulative principles, refraining from illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. They should regularly chant Hare Krishna mantra on their beads, follow the devotional process, rise early in the morning, attend Mangala Arati, and recite Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita regularly. In this way, one can become purified and freed from all material contamination. Right? So we often, I mean, I don't, it kind of, well, it's easy to start thinking like in one lifetime, in the future, then I'll become pure devotee. It's easy to use that as a excuse to become lax. It's a fact that, I mean, at least me, I'm very far away from that, from actually being totally pure, right? I could see myself practically more every day, that I have things I really need to work on. But the fact is that Prabhupada gave us a process by which we can become completely purified in this one lifetime, right? He said that on multiple occasions. That if we just follow this simple process very strictly, which is altogether possible, right? Even if we're still, battling our anarthas and still every now and then, having some difficulty here or there, if we could at least follow the simple process, very strictly, then it's a fact that we'll make incredible advancement. And ultimately, all of our advancement is dependent on mercy, right? It's not that by our own power we can purify ourselves. No, the idea is that when Krishna sees us doing these things, when Krishna sees us sincerely making the attempt to follow the process laid down by Srila Prabhupada, then he himself can, in a moment, completely purify us, right? I mean, anybody who's read the Bhagavatam knows that. You hear about all various different stories, two of the most prominent ones being Dhruva Maharaj and perhaps Ajamil, uh, right? Prahlad Maharaj is also there. I read something interesting in the seventh canto recently where I was saying it was just a subtle point I never got because we often think, or at least I do, I often thought that Prabhupada was, Prahlad Maharaj was just a fully self-realized Mahabhagavat pure devotee, in the pastimes that we see him performing with Hiranyakashipu and so forth. But it's actually mentioned that when Shringadev appeared, and when Shringadev put his lotus paw on Prahlad Maharaj's head, then that's when he was fully purified of all different material contaminations. So even Prahlad Maharaj, even though he was fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it still required that final touch by the Lord, right? So that's very indicative of the way the process works. And then we see with Dhruva Maharaj, who went to the forest to perform austerities, not to become a pure devotee, but actually to acquire a larger kingdom than his father, right? For passionate reasons, you could say, with a passionate, you could say selfish motivation that he wanted to accrue more influence, power, wealth than his father. But because he carried out the simple process given to him by Narada Muni, by his spiritual master, then eventually Vishnu came, and by Vishnu's presence, then he became fully purified. Ajamil, I mean, a very unique story, but similar thing where at the very end, because he chanted the holy name, then the Vishnu Dutas came, and by their influence, then he became um, fully purified and able to return to the spiritual world. Um, so we shouldn't think that oh, unless I, start chanting 64 rounds every day, get to a point where I'm living like, some Babaji, then I won't become fully purified. No, the idea is by the sincere attempt to become purified, by sincerely carrying out these. I mean, this is such a golden purport here that Prabhupada gives. I mean, I noted it down because it's like, this is how to become pure. Well, the thing is, we want to become pure. This is how you become pure, it says. Follow the four regulative principles. Okay, that's basic. Regularly chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra on their beads. Follow the devotional process. Rise early in the morning, 10 Mangala Arti, and recite Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita regularly. In this way, one can become purified and free from all material contamination. So we do those things with the right consciousness, with the right motivation as far as possible. But even if we don't do them with the right consciousness, with the right motivation, like Dhruva Maharaj, even if we just follow the instruction of our spiritual master blindly, then we'll attain all success as well, right? I just read this letter to Sri Govinda on book distribution. Yesterday, Prabhupada said, actually, it is a fact that ultimately everyone should preach and distribute books if they want to please me in the best way. Book distribution must be given stress always. He has spoken the right thing. This is in reply to a letter in which someone wrote Prabhupada saying that the temple president was saying that deity worship should stop if it meant that people weren't going on book distribution or something like that, that asked which was more important. As he's saying, he has spoken the right thing. If book distribution must be given stress always. If you do this sincerely, it is a fact that Krishna will supply everything else required. And here's the point. This is why I'm reading this quote. Prabhupada said, I blindly follow my Guru Maharaj. I do not know what is the result. So I'm stressing on this point of book distribution. He told me this personally, right? So you are all intelligent boys. So you should judge the desire of my Guru Maharaj and help me in that way. So even if we, you know, uh, just blindly follow the instructions of our spiritual master, then even still we'll become purified and then can ultimately have a huge impact on the world around us. Right. So this is paramount for us to become purified. And it's a chain reaction, right? We become more pure, then we can hear more deeply Krishna's names, Krishna's pastimes, then we develop a taste hearing those pastimes. And then we develop such a strong distaste towards anything, any kind of material enjoyment that's not connected with Krishna. Right? I think it was Yamuna, always forget his name. My lips curl in disgust whenever I think of that enjoyment, which is separate from my service to Krishna. Any kind of sensual gross, my lips curl in disgust now, having tasted this higher thing. And so by becoming purified, by following this devotional process, by sincerely carrying out the orders of our spiritual master, we develop this taste for hearing about Krishna, right? Shru Shru Shro Shraddhanasya Vasudev Kata Ruchi, San Mahatsevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevana. By this service to the spiritual master, then we get this Vasudev Kata Ruchi. We get this Ruchi for hearing about Krishna Kata. So through that ruchi, then all the other lower tastes become like stool, right? We're just not interested in them. It's disgusting. We flush them down the toilet. And then we become fully absorbed, nishta, right? We become so fixed in our loving service to Krishna because why wouldn't we? You know, it's just so enjoyable. And we're getting so much out of it, but also we finally realize the nectar, the supreme nectar that is there, and fully forgetting ourselves and becoming immersed in loving service to Krishna. We finally woke up. We realized, right? Finally, our reality is better than any kind of material dream that we could have ever have come up with over billions and billions of lifetimes. Finally, we're tasting the nectar of reality. And so from there, then we reach a point where the pull towards Krishna is so much stronger than the pull away from him. That now it's easy to do these things, to hear a chant, get up early, because we just are so in love with Krishna that it's like we just want to be with him all the time, and we don't want to do anything that will take us away from him. But this strictly following the process, simple process, hearing regularly Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting as best we can. They're not always going to be great rounds, but if we make that sincere attempt to chant attentively, and we're not on our phone, we're not doing other things as far as possible. Of course, life happens. Sometimes we have to chant while we're driving. Little self-defense every now and then, you know, it happens. But if we make that sincere attempt as far as possible to hear the holy names when we're chanting, then we're no longer committing offenses to the holy name. That's namabhas. And then through that namabhas, that sincere attempt, then Krishna will give us higher stages. So by doing these things and then by carrying out the orders of our spiritual master, we become purified, we become pure devotees, and we ultimately attain the supreme goal, pure devotional service. And maybe we stay in the material world for a few more lifetimes and preach Krishna consciousness, go around and help inspire others, like we see so many of our spiritual masters today, Radhanath Swami, Vaisheshika Prabhu, so many others, but especially them too. I mean, there's others as well, but them too, you could see that from an early point in life, they weren't interested in the material world. They gave up all kinds of sinful activities, meat eating, sex, intoxication. They gave it up naturally and just wanted to focus on spiritual life. You could tell that they came. I mean, at least my understanding is they were already on an extremely high platform. They continued to. They're in the material world for this purpose that they're doing now, which is to spread Krishna consciousness. And so many other spiritual masters are like that. Or we could go back to Goloka Vrindavan or Lord Chaitanya's eternal abode and engage in their service directly. So it's a simple process. I once asked there was a forum, we were asking, it was a small meeting, my spiritual master was there, and someone had the icebreaker of if we had a. Oh, I told the story already in the Bhagavatam class that I gave last time, I think. But rice dal chapatis, he said, would be the name of his biography, meaning mastering the basics. And so if we just try to master the basics, then we'll be amazed at how far those basics will take us. Don't need to be some great, amazing devotee. We just need to be a good devotee. Be a good devotee. Hear nicely, chant nicely, do our service nicely. And Krishna likes that. Krishna is into just humble devotees. You can see that in Bhagavatam. But anyway, it's 7:52. If anybody has any comments or questions, we'd love to hear from you.
Anupam, beautiful class. There's a question in the chat from Andrea. 2 questions. If we aren't pure devotees, should we not preach or share about Krishna then? Do we allow Andrea to share about Krishna?
Well, as far as I could understand, she's a pure devotee.
Oh, yeah.
But she, the thing is, one time someone asked Prabhupada, like, how many pure devotees are there in the movement? I think it was Satsrup Maharaj, and Prabhupada said, how many devotees do we have in our temples? And he said, do we have that many pure devotees? Pure devotee could be looked at different ways, but in the same way that one who's chanting sincerely is not considered offensive to the holy name, but is in this clearing stage of namabas, that could be considered a purified form of the holy name in the same way. As long as we're making that sincere attempt to be pure, then we could be considered a pure devotee in one sense. At least that's how Prabhupada seemed to describe it. But yeah, no, the idea is that, yeah, we should be imbibing a certain level of conduct before we go out and start preaching. Book distribution is always there. We could always give books out. But if we're going to preach to somebody, then we should be maintaining a certain level of conduct, ideally.
Yeah. Thank you, Anupam. And there's another one from Andrea. Hare Krishna, I found that blindly following has connotations of cults. How do we reconcile that?
Yeah, it's a fact. The idea is that we're extremely discriminant up to the point where we can understand that somebody is actually on a level that we could blindly follow them. Right? So that could take years. And that's understood, that before accepting a spiritual master, one should study them for a period of time, scrutinize them, basically, and really analyze if they are actually who they're claiming to be or who they're positioning themselves as. But then once we get to a point where we've understood that somebody is fully pure and has our best intentions in mind and is a representative of Krishna, then the idea is that we can put our doubts and desires in the back seat, at least. And the thing is that anybody who is bona fide like that, you'll be able to ask them questions about certain things and, present your doubts to them, and they'll be able to answer them in a satisfactory way. And if they just say, oh yeah, don't talk about that, or we don't discuss that, then you could say, okay, well then I'm not going to follow you, kind of thing. But yeah, we always retain our level of discrimination. But once we've understood that if someone is fully pure, then the idea is that we give our heart to them.
Nice. I've been married for 10 years and I've come to this realization that I should just blindly follow my wife. But I'm not blindly following a random person. I follow my wife and she loves me. She wishes me best. Do we have any further questions, dear devotees? Anyone? Beam?
Haribo, I just wanted to make a comment on your comment about blindly following a wife. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We should understand that it's the wife or the dear ones in our life, the devotees that we make friendships with, which is why sadhu sangha. And that doesn't mean just going to a festival and hanging out with the advanced devotees. It means having devotees around you at all times. as someone like myself who went without any Sangha at all for 20 years, we don't stand a chance in this world. And marrying a good wife, marrying a wife who knows the philosophy and who knows you simultaneously, there's this conspiracy that goes on between Mataji, sincere Mataji, and Krishna. And that conspiracy is the correction of the Prabhuji, of the wife bringing to the forefront the illusions of the husband. And that it's not a blind following, but one comes to understand that perhaps we are being taught a lesson at all times, whether it be our dear friends in the movement, if we're brahmacharis, or whether it be our friendships formed in a working relationship with devotees, as per the current situation, Ananda Bihari, you and I have. I'm always listening to things that you say. I'm watching you, watching you closely, and learning. And so therefore we also have our wives in our lives. And this following is that understanding of that when we surrender to Krishna, we have to understand that Krishna is always speaking to us through the lips of others. Chastisements, corrections, revelations, insights given to us from other people about ourselves, etc., that we should actually kind of close our eyes to ourselves, close our eyes to our mind, close our ears to our own mind, our own defense of our false ego, and listen to somebody else say, no, this is the way it is. I remember the other day I was in an argument with my wife, tongue in cheek, a humorous argument, but I said, you're an illusion. You don't know what reality is. And she stood with her hands on her hips and flared her elbows out like a cobra. And she said, I am reality. And so I had to listen. I had to listen because the argument had something to do with the philosophy and following it properly. So I had to listen, and it was as if Krishna was speaking then. I am reality. So how we deal with other devotees at all times is the reality of Krishna's purificatory, sweet purificatory process. So thank you very much for the class, Anupam. That was just, I love to listen to you speak. You're so relaxed, and the cadence is so welcoming and comforting, and convincing. So Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Bino Prabhu, Anupam Prabhu. Wonderful. I have a question, Anupam Prabhu. When I was in Vrindavan for the retreat, I was hanging out with beautiful devotees. I was chanting japa nicely. I was taking wonderful prasadam. The scenery was beautiful. And my lips were curling in disgust when I was thinking of my anarthas and impurities and all the prajalpa that I was doing. And I was thinking, I'm not going back there. There's no way I'm going to that rat hole of my prajalpa after this wonderful retreat. But then, here I'm back here. It's just me and my phone in the morning, and I'm tempted to go back to the hellhole of prajalpa and unwanted things. So how do we maintain focus when we are not in a situation like a retreat where everything is ideal and Krishna conscious? How do we maintain focus on Krishna?
Yeah, I love retreats because I think they're so important, and I think they kind of are indicative of something that you can do in different, more than just once a year, whatever it is. I think we need once a year retreats. We need twice a month retreats, like in Kadashis, and I think we also need once a day retreats. Where every day at a certain time we're saying this is my retreat time, and I'm going to retreat to my room or to whatever it is, and I'm going to really deeply hear and chant, or at least make that attempt. And I find that when I am able to do that, then it completely changes the course of my day and what I'm into.
Thank you. That helps.
Ananda Bihari, the answer to your question is in the name of the place you work. Interfaith Retreats.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
All right. So
That's right.
I had heard from Domi that one of the major points about this was a japa retreat, right? This was a holy
Right.
name retreat, right? And
Right.
and the important who's the Maharaj? I forget his name. Who was
Sachinandan
giving,
Swami.
right? So he said we have to have faith. We have to have faith in the holy name, and the word interfaith obviously means other ways at looking at it, but it also means in faith. That when we come to have faith within, we start to see Krishna's work in all religions, including the religion of our everyday. And we have this interfaith retreat. And as Anupam said, every day we should take a retreat. That's of course our time that we take in the morning as a priority, but also all day long. I mean, Ananda Bihari, we're tested all day long, working with 40 different people, international people, all day long. We're tested, and at every time, at every moment, and I've noticed this with you. You have developed a very relaxed composure, and I would take that as somebody who has learned to depend on Krishna. That you've retreated back into Krishna's instructions on how to handle these challenges and stuff like that. So I just thought I'd remind you that we're actually named what we need as our answer.
Nice. Never thought
Hare
of it
Krishna.
that way, Bhima Prabhu. So I'm going to go to work thinking of, okay, I'm going on the retreat. My retreat never ends.
Never ends.
Prabhus, can you let us start the video?
Yes. Gorashan Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Okay, stand up, everybody. Turn your cameras on. Yes, Vinisha, good to see you. Henry Prabhu. Hemangi, standing up. Amrita Kishore, Didi. William, okay. So good to be back. Okay, where's the video? Where are you, Gorashan? Where is Krishna? I'm gonna cry like a baby. Krishna, where are you? Radha Muladhar. Rich, yeah, and Rich's friend. What's his devotee name, Rich?
Which video are we supposed to be spotlighting? I don't see them.
I don't see them either. But we heard them. We heard some Akashvani, a voice from the sky. Okay, let me see if I can ask Adi to unmute and start the video. Let me see. Okay, interface. Ask to start video. Ask to unmute.
In the meantime, we can look in the eyes of these cows.
You
Cows and goats.
stop the video. The greeting the deities went on. Kind of missed it. We were trying.
Oh, maybe
we
he
couldn't get
was
to-
saying that. Okay, guys, please keep quiet. We're gonna have
That's it.
darshan. Yeah.
The Vasudev said he won't let you start the video. He won't let you see the deities. We tried and tried, but now you missed it. Maybe
Okay.
tomorrow.
All right. Okay, we're having some darshan of Rich's friends. Oh, William is showing us his deities. Nice. Okay. Let me see.
Everyone should show their deities if they have them there in the room with them. Everybody should now show their deities.
Yeah, I got Lord Jagannath, Lord Baladev, and Lady Subhadra right there.
Haribo.
Anupam, Shishagura Nitai Ki Jai. Wonderful. Okay.
I have to head out. Thank you, everybody, for your time. And please
Well,
forgive my
look at Bhima Prabhu's. Yeah, thank you, Anupam Prabhu. Thank you. Look at Bhima Prabhu's deities. That's Krishna playing the flute. Yeah. Amrita Kishore. Wow. Shishagura Nitai Ki Jai. Nice. Oh, look at Hemangi's setup. So opulent.
This is great.
I see goats and deities. Nice. I should take a screenshot of that. That's me and the deities.
Those aren't goats. That's William.
Okay. All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Oh, Andrea, look at Andrea's deities. Hold on. That's baby Krishna, sweet baby Krishna right there. Okay. Shishigura Nitai. Shishirada Muladhar. Oh, baby Jagannath. Srila Prabhupada. Wonderful. Yeah, we live in the temple. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, home deities ki jai, Bhima Prabhu, Henry Prabhu, William Prabhu, Hemmangi, Andrea Rich and his friends, Amrita Kishori, Didi Justi, Yogeshwari, Dominica, Dana Krishna's Radharani, Pink Yogi of Harlem, Sharmila, and Leslie Devi ki jai. See you again tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Thank you.